Today I'm going to show you guys how I programmed the Segway Navimow X315 to mow my lawn for me while I throw my friends an end of summer barbecue. So listen, I'm the type of guy who loves mowing my own lawn. I find it to be a super cathartic practice that gives me that true confidence and inner peace as a homeowner. Well, at least most of the time. But what if you're the type of person who doesn't get a lot out of the whole process? Maybe you just don't dig mowing your own yard, or you're just not physically able to anymore. In that case, the only option seems to be contacting a local landscaping service. Well, that's where you're wrong. We're living in the future, baby. It's 2025, and there are all kinds of tech gadgets to help us out with our everyday lives, including robotic lawn mowers that mow your lawn for you. So the folks at Segway Navimow kindly sent me the X315 0.5 acre mower to test out and review. And upon unboxing it, I was immediately overwhelmed by the setup, and it kind of took me a little bit of time to wrap my head around. There was just a sea of cardboard and a lot of moving parts, and it was kind of difficult to figure out where exactly to start. But after looking over the instruction manual and the setup guide, it immediately directed me to downloading the Navimow app, which then told me I should probably start by setting up the charging station and the antenna for this thing. Now, for the antenna placement, the app strongly suggests that you find the area of your yard where the most amount of sky is visible. I don't have a lot of that with this yard. There's a big tree here that shades most of it, but I did have this portion in the back of my yard that's kind of tucked away and seemed perfect for this setup. So I did decide to place the antenna and the charging station side by side over there. Not the most optimal location, but we'll see how it eventually goes. Now, the whole setup process for the antenna and the charging dock is really seamless. Everything pretty much clicks into place really satisfyingly. And with the antenna, you basically put the rods together, and there's one single screw that kind of holds the mast together before you stake it right into the ground. Once these two things are pretty much set up, connected, and plugged in, all you gotta do is just roll your mower into the charging dock and allow it to fully charge. It should be pretty easy to see how much charge this thing has due to the gigantic LED screen right on top of this thing. It makes things pretty obvious for you. Now at this point, this is your time to sit back and relax and allow this thing to get a full charge, maybe marinate your meats, throw some ice in the cooler, and most importantly, charge your phone, because you're gonna need it for a while during this next step, which is mapping out the overall area of your yard. So this is where you connect the mower to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and pretty much get on the app and start practice driving your mower around. Now, I found this to be one of the most rewarding parts of this device. It's really fun driving this thing around. It reminds me of a zippy little RC car that you'd play with back in the day when you were a kid. I really like how this thing drove. It is kind of squirrely when it's on uneven surfaces here and there, but the overall connectivity with the app to the device is pretty much seamless. And there's also little to no latency with it, which also could be a problem otherwise. And once you've gotten a good feel for the controls of this little robo mower, you then select a starting point on your yard and start mapping around the boundary of where you want this mower to mow within and not cross. Now, for this step, you want to take your time, be as precise as possible, and if you mess up, don't worry, because at the top right of this app, there's actually a little erase function. You hold down that button, and the mower itself will backtrack and erase that portion of the path that you just drew, so you can then draw it again. It's really cool. Mapping with the X315 also presents some really useful and specific functions. Once you draw that boundary, you can then draw off-limit islands, places basically in your yard where you want your mower to not enter. So that in this case happens to be this rock that I'm sitting on and this tree beside me. So you can basically draw little paths around these types of obstacles so your mower knows to avoid them. After tracing around those off-limit islands, you can then set up channels with this device. And a channel is basically a path for this mower to take without mowing, actually. So if your yard is divided into separate sections, it can just use a channel to get from one spot to the other. Now, my yard is just one big chunk, so the only channel I needed to set up was basically just a path for this mower to take from the boundary that I set up right back to the charging dock. Now, we're almost ready to mow, I promise you, but this next section of this video I like to refer to as things to know before you mow. Okay, now there are a lot of things that this mower can do with the connectivity of the app. You can adjust the overall cutting height from 2 to 4 inches tall. You can set this thing up on a schedule, so it will mow on the times and days you specifically select, all on its own. There are different work modes you can choose: traction control, mow reports, weather adaptive features, anti-theft, and device lock modes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But all that is pretty much meaningless if this thing doesn't actually mow, right? So let's fire this puppy up and see how it actually does, because my guests just got here, and let me tell you, they are hungry. While this mower does its thing and I start barbecuing, I'm gonna check back in with you later and report on how this thing actually performed. So stay tuned.
1, 2, 3, 4.
right, so here we are. The mower has officially done its thing, and here are my final thoughts on the X315. It did take a while to mow everything, but I think it did a pretty solid job, and it adhered to the map as I laid it down earlier, which is really nice. I think it's a really good product with a lot to offer, especially if you have the change for it. I think if you are maybe someone who's a little bit older and established and you're looking for something that will just do the job for you over time, this is the ticket, and the setup isn't half bad either. But I don't know, I liked it. I think the team had a good time. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I should keep using this mower?
Prove it, prove it.
We're gonna have to do a prove it video on this, but that's gonna sum it up for today's video. If you liked it, like the video, subscribe to the channel for a lot more how to do it all content, and comment down below if you have any ideas for us going forward. But that's gonna sum it up for today's video. I'm JD, and we'll see you in the next one.